Hello, everybody. It's me here with my best friend Panda. We are going to have an exciting day in Prague today, and we can't wait for it. So let's go. This is how our day starts. We woke up early and just look at this beautiful morning. The sun is shining, the sky is blue, and there is not a single cloud. And when we saw that, we said to each other, "Today is a perfect day for an adventure." So we packed our bags and headed out the door. When we came outside, we could hear that it was very quiet. So we thought that maybe Prague is an empty city. But then we turned around the corner, and what do we see? A very long line of people. So we decided to go check it out, and we found out that it was a line to get into a very famous place called Charles Bridge. So we joined the line, and when we got closer, we could see that there were hundreds of people there already. There were tourists from all over the world. Some were taking pictures of the amazing view, some were taking pictures of their friends, and some were simply enjoying the beautiful atmosphere. So we stood in this line for a while, and then finally it was our turn. And oh my goodness, it was worth the wait, because right in front of us was one of the most beautiful views we had ever seen. Charles Bridge was like something out of a fairy tale. It was so pretty that we couldn't believe our eyes. On both sides of the bridge there were these huge towers that looked like they belonged in a castle. And in between them, there were these statues that were so old they looked like they had come to life. And on top of all that, the river was so blue and shiny that we could hardly believe it was real. It felt like we had stepped into a different world. A world where magic was real and fairy tales came true. But that wasn't the best part yet. As we walked across the bridge, we could hear the sound of music. It was coming from a group of street musicians who were playing right in the middle of the bridge. They were playing this lively tune that made us want to dance. We couldn't help ourselves. We started dancing along with the music, and soon we were all laughing and having the time of our lives. It was so much fun. After we had danced enough, we stopped and looked around. And that's when we realized that we weren't the only ones having fun. All around us, people were smiling and enjoying themselves. There were couples holding hands, families taking pictures, and even some people singing along with the music. It was so heartwarming to see everyone so happy. Then suddenly, Bear noticed something strange. There was a little girl sitting on the side of the bridge crying. She had lost her balloon, and she couldn't stop crying. So Bear and Panda decided to do something nice. They went over to the girl and asked if they could help. Of course, she nodded and wiped her tears. Bear and Panda started looking for the balloon, and after a while they found it. It had floated all the way to the other side of the bridge. They brought it back to the girl, and she was so happy that she gave them a big hug. Bear and Panda were so glad they had cheered her up, and they all three continued to enjoy the beautiful day. As we walked further into Prague, we couldn't help but notice how beautiful everything was. The buildings were like something out of a fairy tale, and the streets were filled with flowers and plants. It felt like we had stepped into a different world. We walked past many interesting places until we came to a very famous one, Prague Castle. It was huge and beautiful, and we couldn't wait to explore it. As we walked inside, we could feel the history all around us. The walls were covered with paintings and statues, and the floors were made of real gold. It was so heavy that we almost fell over, but that wasn't the best part yet. As we walked through the castle, we came to a room with a huge golden ball. It was so big that we could barely fit it in the picture. But what was even more amazing was the view from the room. We could see the whole city of Prague from above, and it was absolutely breathtaking. The buildings looked like toys, and the river was like a shiny ribbon. After we had enough of the view, we went back to the main room, and that's when we saw it. A huge throne made of pure gold. It was so big and heavy that we couldn't move it. But it was also so beautiful that we couldn't take our eyes off it. We pretended that we were kings and queens and sat on the throne. We felt like real royalty. But then we heard a voice. Someone was watching us and laughing. When we turned around, we saw a funny-looking man dressed like a jester. He was wearing a colorful hat and shoes, and he had a big smile on his face. He introduced himself as the Castle Jester and invited us to watch his show. He started juggling balls and making funny faces, and we couldn't stop laughing. It was so much fun. After the show, the jester told us about the history of the castle and all the kings and queens who had lived there. He was so funny and entertaining that we forgot all about being bored. At the end of the tour, he even taught us how to be jesters, and we put on a show for all the other tourists. It was so much fun. When we finally left the castle, it was time for lunch. We went to a nearby restaurant and ordered some traditional Czech food. It was so delicious that we couldn't stop eating. After lunch, we took a walk around Old Town Square. There were so many interesting things to see that we didn't know where to start. There were statues, fountains, and even a tower with a clock. But the most impressive thing was the tin church. It was so tall and beautiful that we could barely fit it in the picture. As we walked around the square, we couldn't help but notice all the people around us. There were locals going about their daily business and tourists taking pictures. It was so much fun to watch them all. Then, suddenly, Bear noticed something strange. There was a group of people gathered around a street performer. They were all watching him closely as he did amazing tricks. We joined the crowd and watched as he pulled a scarf from thin air, made coins disappear, and even balanced a stick on his finger. He was so good. After the show, we thanked the performer and continued exploring the square. That's when we saw it, a small shop selling sweet pastries. The smell was so good that we couldn't resist. We went inside and bought one of the biggest ones we could find. It was called trdelník, and it was made of dough, sugar, and cinnamon. We shared it, and it was so delicious that we couldn't stop eating it. After we had finished our snack, we went back to exploring the city. This time, we headed to a funicular. It was a small train that went up a hill and gave you an amazing view of the city. We rode it to the top, and when we got off, we could see the whole city in front of us. The buildings looked like toys, and the river was like a shiny ribbon. After we had enjoyed the view, we decided to head back. It had been an amazing day, and we were so tired that we could hardly walk anymore. On the way home, we stopped for ice cream and then headed back to our hotel. We were so excited to tell our friends all about our day. When we got back to the hotel, we unpacked our bags and got ready for bed. We talked about our favorite parts of the day and then finally went to sleep. It had been an amazing day, and we couldn't wait for the next one. That was the end of our day in Prague. What do you think? Did you have fun with us? If yes, please leave a thumbs up and stay tuned for more adventures. Also, don't forget to subscribe.